ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ, ಪ್ರಜಾವಾಹಿನಿಗೆ ಸ್ವಾಗತ. ನಾನು ಅರ್ಚನಾ ಸ್ವಾಮಿ. ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಲೈಫ್ ಸ್ಟೈಲ್ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದಲ್ಲಿ ಮಹಿಳೆಯರ ಆರೋಗ್ಯ ಹಾಗೂ ಗರ್ಭಿಣಿಯರು ತಗೋಬೇಕಾದ ಮುನ್ಸೂಚನೆಗಳ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನಮಗೆ ತಿಳಿಸ್ಕೊಡಕ್ಕೆ ಖಾಸಗಿ ಆಸ್ಪತ್ರೆಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಅಪಾರ ಅನುಭವ ಹೊಂದಿರುವ ಕವಿತಾ ಲಕ್ಷ್ಮೀ ಈಶ್ವರನ್ ಅವರು ನಮ್ಮ ಜೊತೆಯಲ್ಲಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಬನ್ನಿ ವೀಕ್ಷಕರೇ, ಅವ್ರ ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಣ ನಮ್ಮ ಮಹಿಳೆಯರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ, ನಮ್ಮ ಪ್ರೆಗ್ನೆಂಟ್ ಇರುವ ಮಹಿಳೆಯರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಅವ್ರು ಏನು ಹೇಳಬೇಕು, ಎಂತಹ ಸೂಚನೆಗಳನ್ನ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂತ. ವೆಲ್ಕಮ್ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್.
ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ.
In general, the awareness to visit a gynecologist is very minimal in our country. It might be a pregnancy related issue or a severe issue which needs a treatment is only when one looks up to a gynecologist. But we are suggested to meet her annually at least once. So let's know a doctor's opinion about the same. Doctor, ನೀವೇನು ಹೇಳಕ್ಕೆ ಇಷ್ಟಪಡ್ತೀರಾ?
See, ಒಂದು ಲೇಡೀಸ್ ಹೆಲ್ತ್ is the most important thing in a family. If the lady is okay, or she is the pillar of the house, so avrdu health chanagilla andre the whole house is disrupted, right? So it is very important for a lady to not only look after others but also to look after her own health. That's very important. And it is not only for a pregnancy or for a definite problem that she should think of going to the hospital. She should also think of having an annual checkup, or certain tests have to be done once in 3 years and all that. So on the annual checkup, like ivaga all the multinational companies and general awareness barta ide ladies ke that they have to do annual checkups. So that has created a different scenario now, but otherwise usually, like you said, it is only for these two conditions that they come to the hospital. So before these things happen, checkups are very important. Either before pregnancy, pre-pregnancy counseling sessions are very important. That can prevent a lot of problems, and it can help them carry a healthy pregnancy. It can prevent a lot of complications. Similarly, a lady developing a disease, before she develops a disease, it is always better to screen it so that we can pick up a major problem much earlier than it could be picked up when she has symptoms. So it's very, very important that a lady at least gets herself checked once in a year after a particular age, say like 30-35 years of age. It's very important.
ನಮ್ಮ ಹಾಸ್ಪಿಟಲ್ಗಳು ಎಷ್ಟು ಪ್ರಮೋಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದೆ, ಇನ್ಶೂರೆನ್ಸ್ ಕಂಪನಿಗಳು ಪ್ರಮೋಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದೆ, ವರ್ಷಕ್ಕೊಂದ್ಸಲ ನೀವು ಚೆಕ್ ಮಾಡಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ ಅಂತ. ಎಷ್ಟು ಮಾಡಿದ ಮೇಲೂ MNC ಕಂಪನಿಗಳು ಅವ್ರ ವಿಮೆನ್ ಎಂಪ್ಲಾಯೀಸ್ಗೋಸ್ಕರ ಎಷ್ಟೋ ಫಂಡ್ಸ್ ರಿಲೀಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಆದ್ರೂ ಟೆಸ್ಟ್ಗಳು ಆದಮೇಲೆ ಎಷ್ಟು ಜನ ಗೈನಿಕ್ ಚೆಕಪ್ಗೆ, ಕನ್ಸಲ್ಟೇಷನ್ಗೆ ಬರ್ತಿರೋದು ಅಂತ ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ ಅದು ತುಂಬ ಕಮ್ಮಿ. ಸೊ ಆ ಪರ್ಸೆಂಟೇಜ್ನ ಹೆಂಗೆ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಹೆಂಗೆ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಮಹಿಳೆಯರ ಆರೋಗ್ಯಕ್ಕೆ ಉತ್ತಮ. ಸೊ ಹೌ ಡು ಯು ಥಿಂಕ್ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್, like the percentage of people who are having the tests and coming back for a consultation after the test are very low. So what do you think about that number?
The general Indian mentality ke hogutte, anything that is done for free will never be appreciated. So if unless you emphasize the reason why we are doing the tests or idke ಏನೇನು implications ಇದೆ, ಅವ್ರು ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಟೆಸ್ಟ್ನ ನೋಡ್ತಾರೆ, ದೇ ವಿಲ್ ಗೂಗಲ್ ಇಟ್ ಅಪ್. ಗೂಗಲ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ವಾಟ್ ಎವರ್ ಇಸ್ ಸೆಡ್, ದೇ ಬಿಲೀವ್ ಗೂಗಲ್ ಮೋರ್ ದೆನ್ ದ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ಸ್. ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ವೇರ್ ದೇರ್ ಈಸ್ ಅ ಮಿಸ್. So they have to know that this test is done for their health. They are paying for it in some way or the other during their insurance. For their insurances, a part of their money is going. So they have to first feel that this test is important for me, not because the company wants them to do it, but for their own well-being is why this is done. That is very important for them to know. Once they are aware of that, I think a lot of those pitfalls can be corrected, and they will start coming and seeing a doctor.
ಒಂದು ರೂರಲ್ ಏರಿಯಾಲಿರೋರಿಗೆ their mother is not aware of her own health checkup, and how can you expect her to take her own young child or a teenage girl for a checkup? So the regular checkups of that particular sector is completely ruled out. So what would you want to do you want to throw some light about it, or what suggestions you want to give about it?
See, anything that has growth has to start from the grassroots level. So it is not just that urban people are exposed to it. When there are medias like a newspaper or television or mass communication methods, and people are aware through WhatsApp and other things. I don't think in the rural area they don't have WhatsApp. I think they thrive on WhatsApp. So ಈ ಥರ ಮೀಡಿಯಾಗಳು ಇರುವಾಗ I don't think it should be difficult for any communication that can reach the grassroots level of rural. This one, like there might be Anganwadis, there might be panchayat meetings. Idinalli ellam if we can promote activities or can send advertisements or leaflets through the papers, or you can take small video recordings and circulate it on WhatsApp. Definitely ee ondu information that every lady needs to do a checkup every year, adu ashtu difficult idilla. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಒಂದು governments have to start propagating that. The local PHCs have to start talking about it. I don't think it's so difficult.
A puberty function, or when a girl reaches a biological age, the ceremony is celebrated, but not even half of them turn out for a gynec appointment to teach the child about the changes that are happening in the child. Now that the age for maturity is much lessening, so the young child is confused with the bodily changes. So how do you think that awareness can be brought to the child before all the confusion in the mind starts?
See, like I said, everything starts at the grassroots level. So the mother is the first person who can actually counsel her daughter as to what should be done or what should not be done. So if the mother is educated and she is counseled, like I said, with regular programs and activities, she'll be able to pass on that information to her daughter. That's the first step. Second step is again programs of this sort where when a girl attains her maturity, like you said, there are a lot of functions that are going on. If the women around in that function will also be able to educate her, that itself will be very good for her. But if that also doesn't happen and they need a little more information about what are the body changes and what has to be expected, then there has to be a good bond between the mother and the daughter, and with her relatives who are ladies. And they have to, if they also don't know what to communicate, they should not have inhibitions to bring her to a gynecologist who can actually tell her what are the do's and don'ts. And especially in the Indian scenario now, where they're exposed to a lot of other social issues like peer pressure and even up to sexual activity, which I see of late. They should be definitely given a certain amount of gynec education and sex education as well, to protect themselves from unwanted infections, unwanted pregnancies, and unwanted psychological trauma that they go through during that time, like you said, with the body changes. So it is very important to have a counseling. If parents don't know how to counsel, especially the mother, they should feel free enough to bring the daughter to the hospital.
ನೋಡಿದ್ರಲ್ಲ ವೀಕ್ಷಕರೇ, ಅರಿವು, ನಮ್ಮ ಆರೋಗ್ಯದ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಅರಿವು ಎಷ್ಟು ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಅಂತ. Mostly period related problems are never spoken out loud, and the young girls with their hormonal changes are dealing with delayed periods or painful periods. So how can they be educated on a regular basis without even approaching any of the people? Is there any other channel possible, or is there any other way that the younger kids who are not even accessible to any other kind of information will know that? Or how can we make it easier and better for them? ನೀವೇನು ಅನ್ಕೊಳ್ತೀರಾ?
See, first 2 years after menarche ante, that is the first onset of period. So first 2 years after menarche is the time when children don't know what is right and what is wrong. So everybody, any symptoms that they have, they are put off saying that it is all, we all went through it, and those kind of things. So but first 2 years they can have irregular periods. Some children can have painful periods, spasmodic dysmenorrhea ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. But there are also other things which can cause delayed periods. So ಈ first 2 years ಈ hypothalamo pituitary ovarian uterine axis ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ, ಅದು immature ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. But after 2 years is when all these symptoms surfaces or worsens out. When it happens, she definitely requires a consultation. So mothers have to be aware, or parents have to be aware, that she requires a checkup if she is having an unduly delayed period, or the period spacing of the period is getting worse, and if she has painful periods, because there are conditions like endometriosis other than spasmodic dysmenorrhea which should not be ignored. There are conditions like PCOD in delayed periods which should not be ignored. So for the first 2 years you can manage with, saying that it's immature, or she can take some painkillers like plain paracetamol or antispasmodics. But always when it is more than a particular intensity, or it's a little doubtful as to what it could be, it is always better to come and do a checkup. So sometimes you just pick up. See, I had a 14-year-old girl whom I saw yesterday, and she had her first period say 2 years back and 2.5 years back. So she has very prolonged periods, like once in 6 months, and when I evaluated, at the age of 14 she has hypothyroidism. So if had I not done those tests what were relevant, and had I not done a scan for her, I would have missed a very severe hypothyroidism which would have been detrimental for her intellectual function or for any function in the body. So sometimes you need to evaluate. You cannot just think young girls will not have problems. So sometimes I have picked up diabetes at the age of 10 years, not even before she has attained menarche. So it's very important to know your health changes and the bodily changes, and if the girl is uncomfortable or the mother is uncomfortable seeing her daughter going through all that, because mother is the first person to pick up a daughter's positive or negative vibes. So she needs to actually know this is the cutoff, like it's better I go and show her. They should never be shy of telling their mothers what they have, or the mothers should never be shy in taking her to the gynecologist. It's not just for pregnancy or for a disease. So that is the message I would like to communicate.
Thank you, doctor. That was a good information and a great information. ನೋಡಿದ್ರಲ್ಲ ವೀಕ್ಷಕರೇ, ವರ್ಷದ ಒಂದು ಸಲ ಟೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡೋದು, ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಇಂತಹ ಕಾಯಿಲೆಗಳಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಹೈಪೋಥೈರಾಯ್ಡಿಸಮ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಎಂತಹ ಡಿಫಿಕಲ್ಟೀಸ್ ಇದ್ರೂ ಆ ಟೆಸ್ಟಲ್ಲಿ ಆಚೆ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಅದಕ್ಕಾಗಿ ಕೂಡ ನಾವು ಟೆಸ್ಟ್ಗಳನ್ನ ಮಾಡಿಸ್ಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ ರೆಗ್ಯುಲರ್ ಆಗಿ. ಮಹಿಳೆಯರು ಸೆಲ್ಫ್ ಟ್ರೀಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಅಂತ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಇಲ್ಲ ನೆಗ್ಲೆಕ್ಟನ್ನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ದೇ ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಚೂಸ್ ಎಟ್ ಟೈಮ್ಸ್ ಟು ಇಗ್ನೋರ್ ದ ಪೇಯ್ನ್. ಸೊ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಇಟ್ ಮೈಟ್ ಸೀಮ್ ದಟ್ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಎ ಲೈಫ್ ಥ್ರೆಟನಿಂಗ್ ಡಿಸೀಸ್ ಆರ್ ಅ ಪೇಯ್ನ್, but most of the times due to that a little negligence they tend to suffer more. So what do you want to say about it, doctor? What suggestions do you want to give about the same?
What I would say is, if a lady really cares for her family, she should take care of herself first, because she is the pillar of the family. Whether people would agree with me or on this or not, but I strongly believe a lady in the house, if she is healthy, if she is educated, and if she takes care of herself well, the family is in a certain different level, definitely. So she needs to know that if she really cares for her husband, if she really cares for her children or for her parents or for her in-laws, she has to go up and ask for help. Ignoring her problems does not mean she is a good wife or a good mother. If she really cares for herself, she should be the first one to go up to her husband or whoever is taking care of her to say that, see, I'm not feeling okay and I need treatment. Or she herself should come to a gynecologist and do it, because any delay in any kind of health issues can be detrimental to her life or to her her general well-being in life. Tomorrow it can have its own sequelae, its own complications, which might become a bigger problem and stare at her after a particular point of time, maybe in a few months' time or a few years' time. So any such problems, it is her, it should be her responsibility, if she's actually responsible to her family, to either approach her relatives to bring her to a doctor, or herself to walk into a gynecologist's chamber and say, no, this is what I have a particular doubt. And awareness is being built, because I see a lot of women coming into OPDs saying, I have a doubt whether I have a lump in the breast, I have a doubt whether I have a hormonal imbalance. These kind of things. Again, this awareness can only be created by a lot of awareness programs that can be propagated. and education during the master health checks, or paper pamphlets and things like that. So this is the awareness which can bring them to hospital. Now, like I said, responsibility towards self can never be instilled. We are all adults and women who are taking the responsibility and shouldering the responsibility of a family. So they should also have a responsibility towards themselves by taking care of their health, their diet, their exercise pattern, and if there is any deviation from normal, they should come to the hospital and make themselves open for any checkup. Hiding that is not going to actually help them in any manner.
ನೋಡಿದಿರಲ್ಲ, ಮಹಿಳೆಯರು ಯಾವಾಗ್ಲೂ ನಮ್ಮ ಮನೆಯವ್ರನ್ನ, ಮಕ್ಕಳನ್ನ ನೋಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದ್ರಲ್ಲೇ ಅವರ ಹೆಲ್ತನ್ನ ನೆಗ್ಲೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಆದರೆ ತಮ್ಮನ್ನು ತಾವು ನೋಡಿಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ತಮ್ಮ ಫ್ಯಾಮಿಲಿನೆಲ್ಲ ನೋಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಕ್ಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಅವ್ರು ಹೇಳ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸೊ ನೋಡೋಣ, ರೆಗ್ಯುಲರಾಗಿ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಹೆಲ್ತ್ ಚೆಕಪ್ಗಳನ್ನ ಮಾಡಿಸ್ಕೊಂಡು ಆರೋಗ್ಯವಾಗಿರಿ. ಏನಾದರೂ ಇಂಬ್ಯಾಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಇದ್ದರೆ ಅದನ್ನು ಅಟೆಂಡ್ ಮಾಡಿ. ಹಾಗೆ ಪ್ರಿವೆಂಟಿವ್ ಹೆಲ್ತ್ ಕೇರ್ ಅನ್ನೋದು ನಾವು ಅಷ್ಟು ಕೇಳಲ್ಲ, ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ಕ್ಯೂರೇಟಿವ್ ಮೈಂಡ್ಸೆಟ್ಟಲ್ಲೇ ಇರ್ತೀವಿ. ಸೊ ಆ ಪ್ರಿವೆಂಟಿವ್ ಹೆಲ್ತ್ ಕೇರ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನೀವು ಏನಾದರೂ ಹೇಳೋದಿದೆಯಾ?
Like we always propagate, prevention is better than cure. That is what the worldwide concept is, that prevention is better than cure. And prevention methods, again, awareness if you have to bring into the population. We need lot of screening programs, lot of educative programs, lot of doctors need to go out there in the public and say prevention is better than cure. And it is not only prevention which is important, early diagnosis of disease which is seen is very important. There is a limit to which a doctor can go out and propagate prevention modality or an early diagnosis modality or a screening program. So screening programs are the ones which help in prevention of disease. It helps in early diagnosis of disease. So both are very important rather than symptoms happening and then going in for cure. I have always felt the mother in the house is the most important person, because if she is not there, the family goes off. She is the one who has the strength to tide over any kind of situation. So preventing any disease for her is very important.
ಪ್ರೆಗ್ನೆಂಟ್ ಲೇಡಿಗೆ ಪಾಸಿಟಿವ್ ಬಂದರೆ, ಬರಬಾರ್ದು ಅಂತ ಅಂದ್ಕೊಳ್ತೀವಿ, ಬಟ್ ಅಕಸ್ಮಾತ್ ಏನಾದರೂ ಅಂಥ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲಿ ಮೆಡಿಸಿನ್ ಕೊಡಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಎಂಥ ಪ್ರಿಕಾಷನ್ಸ್ ನೀವು ಹೇಳ್ತೀರಾ? ಪಾಸಿಟಿವ್ ಟೆಸ್ಟ್ ಆದಮೇಲೆ ಎಂತಹ ಮೆಡಿಕೇಷನ್ ಕೊಡ್ತೀರಾ? ಹಾಗೆ ಆ ಮಗುಗೆ ಇನ್ನೂ ಏನಾದರೂ ಸೈಡ್ ಎಫೆಕ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಆಗ್ಬೋದಾ? ಏನೂ ಆಗದೆ ಆ ಮೆಡಿಕೇಷನ್ ಕೊಡೋಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯನಾ?
See, pregnancy is an immunocompromised state. By immunocompromised state ante we mean that there is a immunodeficiency ante ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. So immunity ante it is resistance to fight a disease. So when you are immunodeficient or immunocompromised, it means that you don't have enough immunity to fight a disease. Second point I would like to say here is, if you are pregnant, it is always better to follow safety precautions rather than get the disease. Now once the disease comes, it is going to be a bigger challenge, because there is no absolute treatment for it. There is no absolute vaccination which will prevent the treatment for it. So having had the disease, the only thing you can do is keep your fingers crossed and pray to God that your whatever little immunity you have, it will build up on you. Follow all safety precautions so that neither the patient suffers from it nor their immediate family suffers from it. You cannot do a debonding with her child when the baby is inside the uterus. It can spread to the baby. We can't go in and treat. So second thing, after delivery also, you cannot have social distancing with your own child. You need to feed your baby, because that is what will give immunity to the child as well. Breast milk is rich in immune factors and antibodies. So it's very important to basically treat the lady with as much immune boosters as possible with the limited things that we have. It's mainly in the food, it is mainly in maybe we'll have to try certain viral boosters. But giving HCQ is, I wouldn't say completely contraindicated, but it's relatively contraindicated because it's not category A drug. It is either a category B or C drug. It comes in that. So what effects it would have in the long run, we don't know. And what impacts it can have through breast milk for the baby, we don't know. How much immunity the baby has in terms of antibodies that it has derived from the maternal blood or from breast milk, or how mature its immune system is when it is born, we don't know. So all that we can do is pray to God, boost up the immunity, give them HCQ without knowing the consequences, counsel the mother and the family that these are the side effects. We don't have an absolute cure. Keep them in a hospital where they have all ICU facilities, just in case her respiratory system cracks down. I mean, it gives way. It needs to be treated in a tertiary level hospital where there is a backup for a good physician, a good respiratory physician, a good ICU backup. There are ventilatory facilities. The baby also has neonatal ventilatory facilities, and adequate support in terms of availability of treatment modalities, HCQ, any other vaccination if it comes up. Hope and pray that happens. We need to hope and pray that happens soon. That's all we can do. So prevention is again better than cure. So keep away, keep on social distancing. One more thing I would like to say in this is, when we call them for checkups also, we are calling them only for 11 checkups. The rest can be handled by video consultations. When they come for checkups also, we follow a proper PPE system. We would like them also to wear a proper mask, keep sanitizers with them. We are allowing only the patient inside the room in an OPD procedure, because we are taking a lot of risk when we see one patient. So say an OPD of say 20-30 patients in a day, I'm giving you on an average, and if we see an attender along with them, say their husbands along with them, this phenomenon is always there in the Indian scenario, where can we bring our husbands in, can we bring our mothers in? It doesn't work that way. You're not only exposing them, you're also exposing every other patient who's coming beyond that, and you're exposing your doctor. If she stays healthy, only she'll be able to deliver you safely. So please understand that when we say please don't bring in your attenders, it's not to hurt your sentiments or anything like that. It is to prevent, because if I'm saying an X number of patients, if I see an attender along with them, it's going to be doubled. And suppose you are coming in as the 10th patient inside the OPD, no matter how much we can keep the sanitary things right, if there are 20 people who have come in before that, your risks are getting multiplied that many number of times. So these are the only ways in which we can try to bring down the effect of the disease. We don't screen patients. 80 to 85% of corona positive patients are not symptomatic. We can only screen symptomatic patients. We don't have an infrastructure in India where we can screen the entire population, and you can't be just screening them every week. There is an expense associated with it. There are limitation of test kits that are there, and we can only screen patients who are coming in for delivery or for a procedure. We cannot be screening their family. So we are not sure of, though there is a declaration form which says we have not traveled, we don't have symptoms of COVID. We cannot go by that, because 80 to 85% of patients or their attenders can be positive for corona. So there again, it is a self-responsibility, it's a social responsibility to understand that we also have limitations in screening and preventive modes. We can do certain things. You need to know what you can do for yourself. We need to know what we can do it from our end, but you can still get positive, because even on the way that you're coming to hospital, you can develop the disease. So it's very important to understand every rules and regulations that has been laid by the government, or laid by the ICMR, or by the WHO protocol, or by your doctors, or by hospital initiative. We are following government guidelines, and we are trying our best to stall the disease, which is a very big challenge. I don't think it's going to be an easy thing just done like that, and neither a lockdown nor anything of that sort is going to help us for the next at least 2-3 months.
Every second day, we hear a news about a vaccination or a new medicine that's been in the market. It's going to come. So people are already living with this stress, and doctors are handling a lot of battles. But the fake news that's spreading around also is a big hassle. So how do people respond to that? Like, we do really need to wait for a vaccination to come, or the news that's coming out are like
See, there is something called a drug, safety profile. And for us to say a drug or a vaccine is safe to be administered to humans, that is what we call a category A drug. It has to be first studied in animals. There has to be a randomized control trial. This is what the usual research does. It's not what I'm saying. This is what the usual research pattern is. There has to be a randomized control trial, and ideally for a drug to be released in a market with FDA recommendation or a safety profile recommendation or a US recommended profile, it has to be analyzed for at least 5 to 10 years in a randomized control trial. This is the actual truth. But in a scenario like this, they may not wait for 5 to 10 years. They might just go by the safety profile that they can gain out of using it for maybe positive cases, or whoever is volunteering to do that, or whoever is in that end level of disease where they've been able to pull them out of that. Now, no doctor or any institution or any government has the guts to actually put it on a study directly on a human being at this point of time, especially when you are dealing with a disease which is having an immunity issue concerned with it. So I would say better not to rely on a vaccine or a drug. Once you've got it, maybe you can try out relatively safe drugs. HCQ is the only drug which has got a very bad safety profile as far as it's concerned. It can even cause a cardiac arrest if the patient's heart is compromised. So you cannot just pop it in and say, no, I'm doing a prophylaxis or I'm doing a treatment. It doesn't work that way. So that's the only drug which we have, and that's relatively contraindicated. It's not yet proven category A. So better not to rely on these kind of rumors. I strongly feel it's only the Chinese people who have already released the drug and they're just holding on, because the way you see it's not increasing, either they are underrating the report or they do have a weapon against it which they have studied. So they will not release it into the market unless they are sure about the safety profiles, because they are already being blamed for the disease spreading as a pandemic. But I'm quite I have this gut feeling that they are ready with either a vaccine or a drug. But this is just my thought, I cannot just say it on television that yes, it is ready or not ready. It might be something like that, because either they have stalled the disease because of that, because their numbers have not increased beyond 83,000 as far as I saw it last, or they are underreporting. So if they have been able to tide over that disease, definitely they might be having some things other than social distancing and lockdown that they have been able to stall the disease. So maybe something is ready with them, and I think it is only ready with them because no other country is able to stall the disease with either a vaccine or with a drug. So maybe it will come out in the market, and then it will be in very high demand. And we'll have to all take the risk and use the vaccine and look out for long-term effects, because this is a disease which has just come 3-4 months back, or say 6 months back, and we don't have safety profiles to say whether the vaccine is safe or the drug is safe, that it can treat whatever drug can treat, that is safe. So everything is by chance, everything is by risk. So whether to weigh the risk between risk and benefit between the disease and weigh the risk and benefit with the drug or with the vaccine is something which we have to all wait and see and decide.
ಮೆಡಿಕೇಶನ್ ಆದರೂ ಎಂತಹ ಲಾಕ್ಡೌನ್ ಆದರೂ ಯಾವುದು ಸರಿಯಾಗಿ ಹೇಳೋಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ. ನಾವು ನಮ್ಮ ಸೇಫ್ಟಿಯಲ್ಲಿದ್ದು ನಮ್ಮ ಆರೋಗ್ಯನ ಕಾಪಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಣ, ಅದೊಂದೇ ನಮ್ಮ ಸುಲಭವಾದ ವಿಷಯ, ಅದೊಂದೇ ನಾವು ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗಿರೋದು ವಿಷಯ. ನೋಡಿದ್ರಲ್ಲ ವೀಕ್ಷಕರೇ, ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ಅವರ ಜೀವನನ ಮುಂದಕ್ಕಿಟ್ಟು ಎಷ್ಟು ಕಷ್ಟಪಟ್ಟು ನಮ್ಮನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಉಳಿಸ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂತ. ನಾವೆಲ್ಲ ರೆಸ್ಪಾನ್ಸಿಬಲ್ ಆಗಿರೋದೇ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ನಾವು ಕೊಡೋ ಅಂಥ ಒಂದು ಕೊಡುಗೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದು. ಸೊ ಅವ್ರ ಜೀವನಕ್ಕೆ ಮರ್ಯಾದೆ ಕೊಡೋಣ, ಅವ್ರ ಜೀವನಕ್ಕೆ ಒಂದು ಬೆಲೆನ ನಾವು ಹೆಚ್ಚೋ ಥರ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಂದ್ರೆ ನಾವು ರೆಸ್ಪಾನ್ಸಿಬಲ್ ಇರೋದು ಒಂದು ಮಾತ್ರ ನಮ್ಮ ಕೈಯಲ್ಲಿದೆ. ನಮ್ಮ ಆರೋಗ್ಯ ಅವರು ಕಾಪಾಡುವಷ್ಟು ರಿಸ್ಕ್ನ ಅವ್ರು ತಗೊಳ್ತಿದ್ದಾಗ ನಾವು ಮಾಡೋ ಅಷ್ಟು ಸುಲಭದ ವಿಷಯ ನಾವು ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದಾ? ಇಷ್ಟು ವಿಷಯ ಎಲ್ಲ ನಮಗೆ ತಿಳಿಸ್ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಕವಿತಾ ಲಕ್ಷ್ಮಿ ಈಶ್ವರನ್ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ತುಂಬ ಅಮೂಲ್ಯವಾದ ಸಮಯವನ್ನು ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಕ್ಕೆ ತುಂಬ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಸೋ ಮಚ್ ಫಾರ್ ಯುವರ್ ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂಬಲ್ ಟೈಮ್.
Thank you so much.
ನಿರಂತರ ಸುದ್ದಿಗಳಿಗಾಗಿ ನೋಡ್ತೀರಿ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಪ್ರಜಾವಾಹಿನಿ.